Good evening. That bizarre aerial stunt in Washington, D.C. is still rattling nerves today with the question, what if, on a lot of minds. We're talking about that copter that flew undetected to the U.S. Capitol yesterday through some of the most restricted airspace in the country. It was piloted by a Florida mailman with a political message, but who, as far as we know, had no intent to do harm. But what if someone else was at the controls, someone with deadly intent? Tonight, we're not the only ones asking, and some of the answers we're getting aren't totally reassuring. Our national correspondent Peter Alexander is on the story for us.
First the stunt, now the scrutiny.
This is not good, people.
This unprecedented act of civil disobedience is today refocusing new attention on a long-standing security vulnerability, the threat posed by low-flying, lightweight aircraft. Secretary of Homeland Security Jay Johnson.
This individual apparently literally flew in under the radar, literally.
Federal authorities today charged 61-year-old Florida mailman Doug Hughes with violating restricted airspace and operating an unregistered aircraft. The maximum penalty, 1 and 3 years each. A judge released Hughes and ordered him to stay out of Washington until a hearing next month. Hughes told the Tampa Bay Times last year he wanted to deliver a message to Washington to end big money in politics.
I'd rather die in the flight than live to be 80 years old and see this country fall.
Instead, his flight sparked a discussion about security.
How did it happen? How'd the helicopter get through? Why weren't there alarm bells that went off? Why wasn't it intercepted?
This was basically the gyrocopter's flight path as it rounded the Washington Monument, heading straight down the National Mall for the Capitol building. But had he taken a left turn, the pilot would have had a straight shot for the White House. The nation's capital is teeming with law enforcement, the Secret Service, Capitol Police, Park Police, but none stopped what Hughes once described as a flying bicycle.
Who should be in charge of that restricted airspace ultimately?
We've got a well-coordinated federal response to dealing with issues of those who penetrate the restricted airspace
Secret Service,
without permission.
Military, Capitol Police.
It's a well-coordinated response.
The U.S. no longer flies fighter jets 24/7 over D.C. like after 9/11. But a senior military official tells NBC's Jim Miklashevsky even if jets were already in the air, they would have been ineffective against such a small, slow-flying target. After getting a heads up from Hughes, Tampa Bay Times reporter Ben Montgomery drove to Washington to watch. But the Secret Service says the paper never alerted authorities.
It's not my job to pull the plug on somebody who's doing something like this.
Today, the White House even weighed in. Press Secretary Josh Earnest saying that this episode has prompted security teams to reevaluate their security measures throughout the nation's capital. Lester.
All right, Peter Alexander tonight.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.